Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that everything you're struggling with, stress, anxiety, fear, disappointment, is not because life is against you, but because you're caring too much about the wrong things? Imagine waking up tomorrow completely free from the weight of other people's opinions, expectations, and judgment. Imagine the clarity, the power, the unstoppable momentum you could have if you stopped giving energy to what doesn't matter. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how letting go of what you think you need to control can completely transform your life, and why the moment you stop caring, everything changes. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders every single day, trying to control everything, everyone, and every outcome. You wake up exhausted, drained, constantly reacting to people, situations, and circumstances beyond your control. You try to please, to anticipate, to strategize, to predict, to bend yourself into shapes that you never thought possible, all in the hopes that life will finally go the way you want. And yet, somehow, it doesn't. You find yourself frustrated, anxious, even angry, because no matter how much effort you pour in, no matter how tirelessly you plan, life continues to unfold on its own terms. And here's the paradox: the moment you stop caring, truly, deeply, and unapologetically stop caring, you discover a freedom so profound, so unshakable, that it transforms everything. Stop for a moment and think about the people who seem untouchable, who glide through life with a calm confidence that's almost infuriating. It's not luck, it's not magic, it's the power of detachment. It's the understanding that some things are simply not yours to control. They don't expend mental energy worrying about the opinions of others. They don't chase validation. They don't exhaust themselves trying to fix situations that aren't meant to be fixed. They focus on themselves, their mission, their growth, their integrity. And when you reach that point, when you stop caring about what doesn't serve you, when you stop fighting the currents you cannot change, everything changes. Caring is not inherently bad. Caring is human. But caring too much, caring about the wrong things, the things outside your control, the judgment of others, becomes a trap. It chains you to stress, to anxiety, to anger. It steals your energy and leaves you little room to thrive. The more you care about pleasing others, the more fragile your peace becomes. The more you obsess over outcomes, the more powerless you feel when life defies your expectations. But when you stop caring, you reclaim your power. You reclaim your mind, your focus, your emotional sovereignty. You stop giving away your energy to circumstances and people who don't deserve it. Think about the times you've been consumed by someone else's opinion, paralyzed by the fear of judgment, or trapped by the need to be liked. How much time did you waste? How many opportunities slipped away because you were trying to earn approval instead of pursuing your own path? The truth is, people will always have opinions, and most of them are irrelevant to your journey. When you stop caring about being accepted, about fitting in, about meeting arbitrary expectations, you create space to live authentically. And living authentically is the only way to truly thrive. Authenticity is magnetic. Authenticity commands respect. And authenticity only comes when you refuse to bend for anyone or anything that doesn't align with your core values. When you stop caring, your focus sharpens. You realize that energy is finite and not every battle deserves your attention. You learn to pick your fights wisely, to invest your effort where it matters most. You stop reacting impulsively to every slight, every critique, every drama. You stop feeding the noise that distracts you from your purpose. And in that silence, in that clarity, your power emerges. You begin to act from a place of strategy rather than emotion, of intention rather than reaction. You stop being a victim of circumstance and become the architect of your life. Detachment is not indifference. It's not a lack of empathy or compassion. It's the ultimate form of self-respect. It's knowing that you cannot control others, you cannot rewrite the past, and you cannot predict the future. But you can control your response, your focus, and your energy. And when you stop caring about the things outside your control, you are free to care fully about the things that truly matter: your growth, your relationships with those who matter, your mission, and your integrity. You operate at a higher level where fear, doubt, and distraction no longer dictate your decisions. You stop being pulled into chaos and start operating from calm authority. There's a strange beauty in letting go. When you stop caring about what others think, When you stop trying to control outcomes, when you release the illusion of needing to be liked, you create space for authenticity, clarity, and strength. You become unshakable because your self worth no longer depends on external validation. You move through the world with a quiet confidence that commands attention without effort. You notice how people begin to treat you differently, not because you've changed who you are, but because you've stopped allowing yourself to be diminished by their opinions. You set boundaries effortlessly, you speak with purpose, and your actions carry weight because they are grounded in truth, not fear. Imagine how much lighter life becomes when you stop caring about the petty judgments, the endless comparisons, the meaningless criticism. Imagine how much sharper your focus becomes when you stop expending energy on what you cannot change. Imagine the power of living without the constant mental chatter of worrying about others' approval. When you stop caring about the superficial, the inconsequential, the toxic, you create room for growth, resilience, and inner strength. You begin to see opportunities clearly, act decisively, and move forward with conviction. You operate from a level of clarity that fear and overinvestment in external validation could never allow. This is not easy. Our instincts are wired to care, to seek approval, to avoid conflict. But the people who achieve greatness, the people who live fully and fearlessly, are the ones who master the art of detachment. They know when to care and when to let go. They know that obsessing over outcomes, over opinions, over things outside their control is a waste of energy. They understand that power comes from focusing on what truly matters and releasing what doesn't. They move through life like a river, flowing around obstacles instead of crashing into them, taking the path of least resistance without losing momentum. When you stop caring, your confidence soars because it no longer depends on anyone else. Your decisions become sharper because they are guided by purpose, not fear. Your resilience grows because you no longer crumble under the weight of criticism or judgment. You learn that rejection, failure, and setbacks are simply part of life, not personal indictments. You stop reacting emotionally to every twist and turn and start responding strategically with calm precision. You discover a sense of freedom and autonomy that most people spend their entire lives chasing, unaware that it's only a mindset away. In this state, relationships transform. You no longer attract drama, manipulation, or toxicity because you refuse to give your energy to it. You begin to attract people who respect your boundaries, value your authenticity, and share your vision. You communicate with clarity and purpose because you are no longer clouded by fear or insecurity. You operate from a place of strength, not neediness. You stop being a slave to approval and start being a master of your own life. And the irony is, the more you stop caring about being liked, the more people naturally gravitate toward you, the more doors open, the more opportunities appear, and the more life aligns with your true purpose. When you stop caring about trivial matters, toxic relationships, and unnecessary drama, your energy multiplies. You start investing in your skills, your knowledge, your health, your vision. You focus on building a life that matters, on creating a legacy that endures. You stop reacting to the noise and start orchestrating your life with intention. Every action, every decision, every interaction becomes deliberate. You stop being at the mercy of circumstances and begin designing your reality. You realize that life is not about controlling everything, it's about controlling yourself, your choices, your energy, and your focus. The moment you stop caring about what doesn't serve you, you stop carrying unnecessary weight. You walk lighter, speak louder, move faster, and think clearer. You stop compromising your values to fit into molds that don't align with your truth. You reclaim your time, your peace, and your power. You learn that happiness, confidence, and freedom are not given, they are taken. They are cultivated by choosing where to invest your energy and where to release it. And when you embrace this, when you fully internalize that caring less about the wrong things is the ultimate form of self-mastery, you realize something extraordinary. Everything changes. The relationships, the opportunities, the respect you command, the peace you feel, all of it shifts because your energy no longer bends to what doesn't matter. Your life becomes a reflection of your focus, your values, and your clarity. Your path becomes sharper, your vision clearer, your confidence unshakable. And it all begins with the choice to stop caring not about life itself, but about what distracts you from living it fully. When you embrace the discipline of not caring about what doesn't serve you, you start to see the patterns that have held you back all your life. You notice the endless loops of worry, the repetitive cycles of anxiety, the constant push to be someone you're not just to gain acceptance. You see how much energy you've wasted on battles that never needed to be fought, on people who never truly mattered, on opinions that were never yours to own. And the clarity that comes from this realization is profound. It's like stepping out of a dark, crowded room into open sunlight. You finally understand that life isn't about carrying every burden placed on you. It's about choosing which weights are worth lifting and which are meant to fall to the ground. When you stop carrying, you stop being enslaved by fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of judgment, it all begins to dissolve because you no longer allow it to control you. Fear only has power over you when you allow it to dictate your actions. Once you detach from the unnecessary concerns that fuel fear, you operate from a place of courage. You make decisions not because you're trying to avoid discomfort, but because they align with your purpose, your vision, and your integrity. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable, and you start expanding to become the person you were meant to be. You also start to see that caring too much about outcomes is a trap. Life is unpredictable, and trying to control it is a futile endeavor. The more you attempt to micromanage every scenario, the more anxiety you accumulate, and the less you enjoy the process of living. But when you stop caring about controlling every detail, you start to flow with life instead of against it. You begin to embrace uncertainty as an ally rather than a threat. You learn to take calculated risks without the weight of obsessive worry. You understand that sometimes the best outcomes are not the ones you plan, but the ones that unfold naturally when you give yourself permission to let go. When you stop caring, you also gain a level of emotional intelligence that is impossible to achieve otherwise. You start to observe people, situations, and conflicts without immediate judgment or reaction. You become more strategic in your responses, choosing when to act, when to speak, and when to remain silent. You stop reacting to petty provocations or manipulations because you recognize that your energy is far too valuable to be spent on meaningless battles. You start to see clearly who is worth your time and who is not, who deserves your energy and who does not. And this discernment transforms every aspect of your life, from personal relationships to professional opportunities. Your relationships change when you stop caring about superficialities and insecurities. People who are truly meant to be in your life naturally rise to the surface, while those who are toxic, draining, or manipulative begin to fade away. You stop wasting time trying to earn love, approval, or respect from people who cannot give it authentically. Instead, you cultivate meaningful connections with people who value your presence, your voice, and your energy. You learn to communicate with honesty and clarity because you are no longer weighed down by the need to appease or please. Your interactions are intentional, and your boundaries are respected because you enforce them without hesitation or guilt. This discipline of not caring also enhances your focus and productivity. When you stop being consumed by distractions, criticism, or unnecessary drama, you redirect your energy toward your goals, your passions, and your growth. You start to prioritize what truly matters and eliminate what does not. You become ruthless in your pursuit of excellence, not out of anger or desperation, but out of clarity and conviction. Every decision, every action, every effort is aligned with your purpose, and because of this alignment, your results improve dramatically. You become unstoppable not because life is easier, but because your mind, body, and energy are no longer divided or diluted. You also cultivate resilience that cannot be shaken. Life is filled with setbacks, failures, and disappointments, but when you stop caring about the trivial opinions and judgments of others, you build a foundation of inner strength that is unbreakable. You learn that rejection is not a reflection of your worth, failure is not a reflection of your ability, and criticism is not a reflection of your potential. You begin to see challenges as opportunities, obstacles as lessons, and setbacks as stepping stones. Your focus shifts from avoiding pain to embracing growth, from seeking approval to asserting your value, and from fearing judgment to honoring your integrity. When you stop caring about what others think, you also gain freedom. Freedom to speak your truth, to live authentically, and to pursue your ambitions without hesitation. Freedom to explore your passions without concern for judgment. Freedom to make choices based on what truly matters to you rather than what society, family, or peers expect. Freedom to fail, to learn, and to rise again without shame or apology. This freedom is transformative because it allows you to live fully, courageously, and unapologetically. It removes the invisible chains that have bound you to mediocrity, conformity, and fear, and it replaces them with self-respect, purpose, and determination. You start to understand that caring too much about the wrong things diminishes your power. Every moment spent worrying about approval, reputation, or trivial judgments is a moment taken from your growth, your focus, and your freedom. When you stop caring, you reclaim that time, energy, and focus. You become the master of your attention, the guardian of your energy, and the architect of your life. You understand that power is not about control over others, but about control over yourself, your thoughts, your focus, your energy, and your choices. This mindset also shifts how you handle adversity. When life challenges you, as it inevitably will, you no longer collapse under the weight of external expectations or self-imposed pressure. You face difficulties with clarity, strategy, and determination. You do not waste energy on lamenting circumstances or seeking validation from others. You confront obstacles with precision and confidence, knowing that your worth and potential are not determined by outcomes or opinions. You approach problems like a tactician rather than a victim, using every challenge as a means to sharpen your skill, build resilience, and assert your strength. When you stop caring about inconsequential matters, your confidence becomes unshakable. You walk through the world with a quiet authority that commands respect without demanding it. People notice your presence, your poise, and your clarity, and they are drawn to it naturally. Your self-esteem no longer wavers because it is rooted in internal validation rather than external approval. You no longer compare yourself to others because you understand that your journey is unique and your value is inherent. You become magnetic, not because you seek attention, but because your energy is aligned, focused, and authentic. The truth is, caring too much about things outside your control is one of the most significant sources of stress, frustration, and stagnation. It keeps you trapped in cycles of anxiety, indecision, and self-doubt. But when you stop caring, you reclaim your energy, clarity, and agency. You learn to act deliberately, speak intentionally, and live authentically. You become impervious to the noise, drama, and distraction that once consumed you. You start to attract opportunities, people, and experiences that resonate with your true self, and everything in your life begins to shift as a result. When you stop caring about superficial judgments and external pressures, you unlock a level of creativity, innovation, and courage that is impossible to achieve otherwise. You begin to think freely, act boldly, and take risks without hesitation. You stop playing it safe, stop hiding your talent, and stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. You embrace challenges, pursue your ambitions relentlessly, and assert your presence in every arena of your life. Your energy becomes a force of momentum, pushing you toward your highest potential and greatest accomplishments. You also learn the subtle but profound art of influence. When you stop caring about being liked or validated, your actions carry weight. People are naturally drawn to your authenticity and conviction. You no longer speak to please, but to lead. You no longer act to impress, but to inspire. You set the standard through your presence, your integrity, and your focus. And in doing so, you elevate not only yourself, but also everyone around you. You become a force of clarity, confidence, and inspiration simply by refusing to allow unnecessary cares to dilute your power. This is the power of not caring. It is the power to reclaim your energy, sharpen your focus, strengthen your resilience, and assert your authority. It is the power to choose what matters, release what does not, and move forward with clarity and conviction. It is the power to live authentically, act intentionally, and thrive fearlessly. And once you embrace this mindset, once you internalize the truth that your life is yours to design and your energy is yours to protect, everything changes. The people, the opportunities, the respect, the freedom, the clarity, all of it begins to align with the person you are becoming. You finally understand that life is not about pleasing everyone, controlling every outcome, or being consumed by fear and judgment. Life is about mastering yourself, protecting your energy, and pursuing what truly matters. When you stop caring about what doesn't serve you, you discover a depth of power, freedom, and focus that is transformative. You walk through life unshakable, unstoppable, and unapologetically you. And in that moment, you realize that everything you've ever sought externally has been within your control all along. The energy you save, the clarity you gain, and the resilience you build become compounding forces that propel you forward. You begin to act strategically rather than react emotionally. You begin to prioritize what matters over what distracts. You begin to operate from a level of power and purpose that few ever reach because most people are still trapped in the exhausting cycle of caring too much about the wrong things. And as you embrace this mindset fully, you realize something remarkable. Detachment is not weakness, it is strength. It is not indifference, it is precision. It is not surrender, it is mastery. Every moment you spend in this state reinforces your power. Every decision you make from clarity strengthens your trajectory. Every boundary you enforce deepens your confidence. Every challenge you navigate with focus fortifies your resilience. The world begins to respond to you differently, not because you demand it, but because you no longer need it to validate your existence. You have become the master of your energy, the architect of your life, and the guardian of your purpose. When you stop caring, you stop being reactive. You stop being controlled by external forces. You stop giving your power away to opinions, criticism, or societal pressures. You start living deliberately, thinking strategically, and acting with intention. You become a force that cannot be distracted, a presence that cannot be diminished, and a person whose potential knows no bounds. Everything begins to change because your energy has shifted, your focus has shifted, your priorities have shifted. And when you operate from the space of clarity, integrity, and self mastery, you realize that the true power in life comes not from caring more, but from caring wisely. You understand that by refusing to give your energy to what does not matter, you free yourself to invest fully in what does. And in that investment, in that disciplined focus, in that unwavering pursuit of purpose, your life transforms in ways that once seemed impossible. You become unshakable, unstoppable, and undeniable. Your presence commands respect, your decisions carry weight, your focus produces results, and your authenticity inspires others. You walk through life with confidence, clarity, and calm authority because you have mastered the art of choosing what to care about and what to release. And in mastering this art, you realize the ultimate truth. Everything changes when you stop caring about the wrong things. When you fully grasp the power of not caring about the things that don't serve you, you start to see your life with unprecedented clarity. You begin to notice where your energy has been wasted, how many battles you fought that were never yours to fight, and how much of your mental space has been occupied by trivialities, distractions, and other people's expectations. This awareness alone is liberating, but the true transformation comes when you decide to act on it. When you make the conscious choice to release unnecessary cares, you reclaim the most valuable resource you have, your energy. Every ounce of energy that you free up becomes fuel for your growth, your ambition, and your purpose. You begin to operate on a level that most people never reach because most people are still trapped, weighed down by obligations, opinions, and fears that aren't theirs to carry. Caring too much about outcomes that are outside your control is like trying to row a boat against a relentless current. You expend tremendous effort and frustration, but you barely move. You find yourself exhausted, frustrated, and powerless, wondering why life seems so unfair. But when you stop caring, when you release the need to control everything and everyone, you begin to glide. You stop fighting against the current and start moving with it, harnessing its natural energy rather than wasting your own. Life does not become easier, it becomes clearer. Obstacles that once seemed insurmountable become manageable. Decisions that once felt paralyzing become straightforward, and opportunities that were obscured by noise and distraction suddenly appear with astonishing clarity. You begin to understand that not caring does not mean indifference or apathy. It is not about shutting off your emotions or disengaging from life. On the contrary, it is about focusing your energy where it counts. It is about understanding that your power is finite and choosing not to give it away to people, situations, or concerns that drain you without yielding meaningful results. This discipline transforms the way you interact with the world. You stop reacting impulsively to provocations or criticism. You stop being pulled into drama or conflict that serves no purpose. You start responding with intention, speaking with precision, and acting with strategy. You move through life like a tactician rather than a victim, observing, analyzing, and acting only when it matters most. One of the most profound changes comes in how you handle relationships. When you stop caring about approval, you stop being manipulated by it. You no longer bend yourself to meet the expectations of others at the expense of your own well being. You stop chasing people who don't value your presence and start investing in relationships that are mutual, authentic, and meaningful. Toxicity begins to fall away because you no longer feed it with your energy. You learn to communicate clearly, enforce boundaries confidently, and engage only in interactions that add value to your life. And the people who remain in your life? They are there not out of obligation, convenience, or fear. They are there out of respect, alignment, and genuine connection. When you stop caring about judgment and criticism, your confidence begins to soar. You walk through life unshakable because your self-worth no longer depends on the opinions of others. You make decisions based on what aligns with your goals and values, not based on fear of rejection or ridicule. You understand that people will always have opinions, and most of those opinions are irrelevant. You refuse to carry the weight of other people's projections because you know they are not a reflection of your truth or your potential. Your energy is no longer scattered, and your focus becomes sharp, deliberate, and unrelenting. Not caring too much also gives you clarity in times of adversity. Life is unpredictable, and challenges are inevitable. But when you are not preoccupied with trivial concerns, when you are not distracted by the noise of judgment or expectation, you are able to approach adversity with a level head. You see problems for what they are, temporary obstacles, not permanent limitations. You respond strategically rather than emotionally, and you navigate difficulties with calm precision. You no longer crumble under the pressure of circumstances you cannot control because you understand that your power lies not in controlling external events, but in mastering your response to them. When you stop caring about trivialities, you also unlock a level of creativity and innovation that is otherwise impossible. You start thinking freely, unconstrained by fear, doubt, or the need for approval. You experiment, take risks, and pursue ideas that excite and challenge you without hesitation. You are no longer afraid of failure or judgment because those things no longer define your value. Your focus becomes fully devoted to your vision and your goals, and the clarity this brings allows you to make bold moves, seize opportunities, and create results that were previously out of reach. Your presence itself begins to shift. People sense the change because energy is contagious. When you are unburdened by unnecessary cares, when your energy is directed with intention and purpose, you become magnetic. Others notice your confidence, your calm authority, and your focus. They are drawn to your authenticity because it is undeniable. You no longer seek validation, yet it comes naturally because people are inspired by the strength and clarity you exude. You lead not by trying to impress, but simply by being, and that presence commands respect in ways words cannot. In this state, your decision-making improves dramatically. When you stop overthinking, overanalyzing, and overcaring about outcomes that aren't yours to control, you make choices that are deliberate, strategic, and aligned with your long-term vision. You stop wasting energy, second-guessing yourself, or seeking approval from others. You begin to trust your instincts, rely on your knowledge, and act decisively. And because your decisions are no longer clouded by fear, doubt, or unnecessary emotion, they carry far greater weight and impact. The discipline of not caring also strengthens your resilience. Life will test you, challenge you, and knock you down, but when your energy is focused on what matters, you recover faster and emerge stronger. You no longer collapse under criticism, rejection, or setbacks because your sense of self is not dependent on external validation. You see obstacles as temporary, as opportunities for growth, and as challenges that reveal your true strength. You operate from a place of inner authority, understanding that every difficulty is simply part of the process, not a reflection of your worth or potential. When you stop caring about what doesn't serve you, you also create mental and emotional space for what truly matters. You begin to invest in your growth, your skills, your vision, and your relationships that are meaningful. You prioritize your health, your energy, and your well being. You stop spreading yourself thin across things that do not align with your purpose. Every action, every decision, every ounce of focus is now dedicated to advancing your life and elevating your potential. Your energy becomes your most valuable asset, and you protect it fiercely. You also gain a level of freedom that most people never experience. Freedom to speak your truth without hesitation, freedom to act without fear, freedom to pursue your goals without distraction, freedom to fail, learn, and grow without guilt or shame. This freedom is transformative because it allows you to live fully, courageously, and unapologetically. You no longer bend to meet others' expectations, and you no longer compromise your values to fit in. You operate from a place of integrity, purpose, and strength, and this is a power few ever achieve. The world responds to you differently when you stop caring. Opportunities arise that were previously obscured by distraction and worry. People treat you with greater respect because you no longer seek their validation. Doors open because your energy is aligned with clarity, focus, and purpose. You begin to operate at a higher level because you are no longer weighed down by the unnecessary concerns that hold most people back. You become strategic, intentional, and deliberate in every aspect of your life, and the results are transformative. You start to understand that caring too much about the wrong things is one of the greatest barriers to success and fulfillment. Most people spend their lives reacting, pleasing, and worrying, and as a result, they never realize their potential. But when you stop caring about what doesn't serve you, you gain control over your life in a way that is impossible otherwise. You become the architect of your own destiny, directing your energy, focus, and decisions toward what truly matters. Not caring too much also enhances your ability to influence and lead. When your energy is aligned, your presence becomes commanding, your words carry weight, and your actions inspire. You no longer rely on external approval to validate your leadership because your authority comes from within. People naturally gravitate toward those who operate from clarity, focus, and authenticity. And by choosing not to care about the trivial, you position yourself as someone whose influence is undeniable. This mindset transforms every facet of your life, your relationships, your career, your health, your personal growth. You operate with precision, power, and purpose. You stop being reactive and start being deliberate. You stop being distracted and start being focused. You stop being influenced by noise and begin to create your reality with clarity. You learn that your energy is finite, and by choosing carefully where to invest it, you multiply its impact exponentially. When you stop caring about the superficial, the judgmental, the inconsequential, your life shifts. You begin to walk with confidence, speak with authority, and act with intention. You build resilience that is unshakable and focus that is unstoppable. You no longer allow fear, doubt, or criticism to dictate your actions. Instead, you operate from clarity, self-mastery, and purpose. You realize that power, freedom, and fulfillment are not given, they are taken by those who are willing to focus their energy on what matters and release what does not. Every day, your life becomes a reflection of your choices, your focus, your boundaries, your integrity, and your clarity. You are no longer trapped in cycles of anxiety, worry, and overcaring. You are no longer reactive, manipulated, or distracted. You move through the world with quiet confidence and deliberate authority. And as your energy, focus, and resilience grow, you realize that the most powerful moments of your life come not from controlling everything or everyone, but from mastering yourself and choosing carefully where to invest your energy. You finally understand that everything changes when you stop caring about what doesn't matter, when you release the unnecessary, and when you focus fiercely on what truly serves your growth, your purpose, and your potential. Your life, your relationships, your opportunities, and your results all begin to transform because your energy is no longer scattered. It is concentrated, powerful, and unstoppable. And the truth is, this is a level of mastery and freedom that few ever experience, because few are willing to let go of the cares that weigh them down and embrace the power of focusing solely on what truly matters.